Welcome everybody to the Ganec monthly meeting for December. Letting everybody in, just getting it started. So welcome everybody. So welcome Ganec members. This is Emma and we've got our board here and we are going to get started in just a moment with our monthly meeting. Give everybody a few minutes to come in. So John, if you could put the link to the agenda into, oh, there we go. Here's the agenda. So John just put the link to the agenda into the chat. Everyone's welcome to have a look at it, and we'll get started in another minute or so. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December meeting. This is being recorded and it will be posted to the Ganec YouTube page. All right, so welcome everybody. We'll start in just a minute. All right, have some comments in the chat. Yes, and as a reminder, if you want to chat to everyone, please make sure it says all panelists and attendees. And we will get started in just a moment. I see the numbers are still going up. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Ganec December meeting. We're going to get started in just a moment. The link to the agenda is in the chat. Please make sure if you want to chat to everybody to send it to all panelists and all attendees. All right, so I think I see the numbers slowing down just a little bit. Give it another 1 minute. Yes, happy holidays, everybody. And yes, very good point. Mike pointed out, we're almost done with 2020. Oh my goodness, it cannot end soon enough. All right, so, okay. All right. So welcome everybody. Let's get started. So my name is Emma and I'm president of Ganec, the Guides Association of New York City. So welcome to all members, welcome all guests. And this is our December monthly meeting and we're really happy that everyone is here. Got about 80 plus people participating right now and it should be a very interesting evening. We have a wonderful speaker, John Tebeau is here, and we're going to go through some committee reports as well. So just to get started, happy belated Thanksgiving to everybody. I saw lots of pictures of all sorts of feasts of various types from around the world, really, actually from around New York. So I hope everyone had a happy and healthy celebration. But unfortunately, we're going to start with some sad news, and Ganec, the board, and all of our members wish to express our most sincere condolences to the family and friends of Eddie Schneller. He was a Ganec member. He was a wonderful New York City guide. The people who knew him, I did not know him personally, but I did know he was a member, and he was, as Matthew Baker saying in the chat, he was a true gentleman. He was a stand-up guy. He was a great guide and a loving husband and father too. And so he's going to be missed. It was a very sudden and very sad loss. We have found out that there is a GoFundMe for his family. He has 2 small children, and his wife is a New York City public school teacher. And so we will put the link to the GoFundMe into the chat if one of our board members could take care of that. And so if you can, give what you can. this family. I know it would be much, much appreciated, and it's so hard to lose anybody anytime, but especially around the holidays. So again, our sincere condolences to Eddie Schneller's family and to all his friends, including Ganec members who did know him well. So we're very, very sorry to hear that news. And speaking of members, okay, we are in our membership renewal period. So I'd just like to remind you all to please renew your membership to Ganec. As you may recall from the general meeting that we had in September when the budget was approved, a lot of committees we cut back and we tightened our belts as much as we could, but Ganec can only do what it does thanks to the support of members. Your dues go to everything that we provide for you, from Zoom meetings to wonderful professional development programs. And so we'd really appreciate, and we hope you all will join. It gets I think you get a lot of bang for your buck, and you get a lot of good information, a lot of community, albeit virtual community, but the board, we're all here for you, and we hope you will be here for Ganec as well. So we do hope you all will renew your membership. We have almost 90 members have already renewed, which is great. And we just hope people will keep on going. Now, membership, you can renew right through to the first meeting in January, which if I'm not mistaken, is January 6th. That will be the January meeting date. And so if you renew prior to that date, you will not have a late fee. So please make sure you renew. And we do look forward to seeing everybody and signing back up again one more time. So that's really all I have to say, except I would like to, of course, wish everyone very, very happy holidays. No matter what you're celebrating, December is the month of all our holidays, from Hanukkah to Christmas to Kwanzaa to Festivus to the solstice to anything and everything that's being celebrated in 2020 at the end of 2020, which especially I think we'll be very happy to put this year behind us, like way behind us. So yeah, so happy holidays to everybody, and happy hopefully 2021 will be coming up also with the vaccine. We're having some very good vaccine news lately, and just before this meeting I spoke to my uncle in the UK. He's in Scotland, and he told me in 2 weeks he will be getting the vaccine. He's 85 years old, so he's in the first round of people in the UK are the hospital and doctors and nurses and first responders, right, in the hospitals and medical centers. But then next in line, anyone over 80, which includes my uncle. And so it's coming. So I mean, it's starting there, and hopefully we'll be getting it here very soon. So with that, I'm going to pass over to John Semlak, who's going to be introducing our speaker. And after our speaker, we'll be having our committee reports. And then if there is any other business, anything pressing that you need to be brought up, please add it to the chat. We will be monitoring that. And please, make sure to address your chat posts to all panelists and attendees if you want all your fellow members to see that. Otherwise, just to the panelists, only the board members will be seeing your comments. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Again, happy holidays. I hope to see you all in our various virtual events that are coming up. And take it away, John S.
Yeah, we have two John panelists, so there's potential confusion ahead. But welcome, everybody. Again, my name is John Semlak. I'm the co-secretary of Ganec, and I'm really excited to welcome our guest speaker for today. I heard John Tebeau speak at an event, an online event. It was much earlier in this whole stage of things. I think it was in April, but I could be off there, speaking about a book that he had authored, Bars, Taverns, and Dives New Yorkers Love, Where to Go, What to Drink. And that just seemed like such an easy book to fall in love with. And I listened to the presentation, and it was really fascinated by it and had a look at the material again. It was really, so yeah, I immediately thought, wow, this would be a great speaker for one of our events. And I managed to contact John on Twitter, and that's basically how we got here. But unfortunately, the pandemic was just so all kind of embraced, well, let's say, just so affecting to us that, we didn't really have time for people not speaking about issues directly addressing the pandemic. So it took us a while to get John queued up, but here he is, and I'm not going to speak anymore because I'm not the main event. So John, please introduce yourself briefly, and Deborah, if you can get the slides going right after he says he's ready, we're ready to go.
All right, we good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, John, and thank you, Emma and Deborah and everybody for having me on the show. I'm a former bartender here in Brooklyn, a writer, a researcher, and an illustrator, and recently did this book here, Bars, Taverns, and Dives New Yorkers Love. It was an outgrowth of an art project that I did a few years back, where I drew, for lack of anything better to draw at the time, 6 of my favorite bars in Brooklyn. And I come from a family of barkeepers. My dad owned a couple, and his dad owned a couple back in the Prohibition days in Detroit. I'm from Michigan. And so I did this art project and had a couple of shows and sold a few prints and wrote up little wall tags for the artwork. And somebody said, well, dude, this could be a book. And I thought, well, why not? I talked to an agent, a friend of mine has an agent, and she said, all right, we're good to go. We can get you a couple of offers and let's make a book. So it happened kind of, there was a lot of serendipity involved in this book coming to life. They got Rizzoli to be my publisher, which is a wonderful house. They do beautiful work. And they wanted me to do 50 bars of New York, including all 5 boroughs. So it wasn't a hard thing to do that. It was hard to narrow it down to only 50. But it was a really great project to get to know my city more. We had been here for maybe 10 years at that point, my wife Colleen and I. And it was a wonderful way to kind of fall in love with the city again and be, as you guys say, a tourist in your own city. And get out there and get to different neighborhoods and check out a couple hundred bars I never knew existed. And after a lot of hangovers later and a lot of work, we got this book. It's by no means exhaustive. Everybody's got a lot of opinions about what should be in there and what shouldn't be in there, but it's my book, so my rules. But it's got every bar in there is loved by somebody. I can say that. Sadly, not all of them are around anymore because of COVID and just the churn and burn of New York real estate and business. A couple of them, maybe 5 of them, are no longer with us, but we're going to talk about some tonight that are still with us. Now, this is the book launch party. We had 5 bars going. I know a few different bartenders around town. They were kind enough to donate their time, and it was a hell of a party. It was at Rizzoli's bookstore, and it was a good panel, and we had a great night. It was a blast. We can keep going, Deborah. That's me at one of my favorite bookstores, and hopefully everybody knows it. It's the Strand. It's a great place to get any book. I'm going to throw the link up here if you want to order it from Rizzoli, but the Strand is a great place to get any books in New York. And then we can get into, here we go. We're going to go in alphabetical order here. This is one in Staten Island, Adobe Blues. It's kind of a cantina. It's a very locals bar. It's one of those places I call a locals local. It's almost like a clubhouse, and that's just wonderful. It's got that Cheers feel to it. I'm glad I made the trip out there, and I'm glad I made the trip out to all the boroughs that I didn't really know that well, especially the outer boroughs. But this is an OG beer bar, opened up in '94. It was one of the original Beer Geek bars, and I think we have a picture next of the interior. of the Cantina area. Just a warm feeling, comfortable place with a lot of locals, a lot of wisecracks, a lot of ribbing, that kind of stuff. It's wonderful to stumble upon bars like these, and when you find them in your neighborhood or anywhere else, it's the kind of place you really want to support. Now, even if it's not your local, it's good to go there once a year, go there once every couple of months, and support these small family-owned places, because they're having a tough time right now. A lot of these places have GoFundMe campaigns or had them for their staffs during the depths of COVID, and if you can, donate to them. It's a good cause. And this is one that I love. This gets us over to the other side of things. This is in Queens, the Bohemian Hall and Beer Garden. Trees, trees, trees. There's another picture right here next. Gives you an idea. These are 100-some-year-old trees. It's a large place. It reminds me of a state park almost, or a city park. It's so big and so beautiful that you go in there, you decompress, you go behind that wall, and you're no longer in New York City. And there's my rendition of the front of the beer garden. That part was built early in the 19th century. There used to be 800 beer gardens or more in New York City, and now there's just not many left. There were 3 in Astoria alone, which is where this is, and I don't even know if there's still 3 in the entire city, outdoor beer gardens.
John,
One thing about that
John,
place, yeah.
I do apologize for interrupting. Can you identify if you know the neighborhood, in addition to the borough, the places are located? Because we've already got a question about the previous one on Staten Island, which neighborhood on Staten Island. Our guests are very inquisitive.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Let me. That's in New Brighton, not too far from the ferry terminal, maybe 1.25 miles from the ferry terminal. It's right across from, I think, Bayonne. It was kind of in kind of an old dock working neighborhood. It's just great to see those kinds of places. And Astoria is where the last one was, the Bohemian Hall and Beer Garden. Wonderful place. I love that German beer hall vibe, or the beer garden vibe. It's so inclusive, an especially good place to go in the daytime when kids are allowed and people are playing cards. There's a band going quite often. It's a good place to visit, even if you're nowhere near there. It's worth the trip. It's a wonderful place to take people in the summer. Hopefully we can do that again more often as things improve vis-a-vis COVID. But a beer garden, there's a sociologist named Ray Oldenburg who had a real love of those places. This is his book, The Great Good Place, that was one of the inspirations for me to do this series, and I kind of use that as a guidepost when I was describing bars and looking for things to love in bars. And one of the things that he liked was this vibe called Gemütlichkeit. It was a German word that means a space or state of warmth, friendliness, and good cheer. And beer gardens really had that. And the ones that are around still do. I really love those places. So that's in Astoria, way up there in Queens. And then the next one, we go over to the Bronx. And this is a place called the Bronx Beer Hall. And Deborah, if you want to just flip through a few of these. I was sitting at the 50-yard line of the bar in the middle of the Arthur Avenue retail market. And these fellas plopped a bar in there a few years back, the Ramirez brothers. And if you just keep going, you can kind of get a 360-degree view of the place. So there's all those shops, and there's delis, and food shops and things like that. So you can get any food you want in the market. You can go to any of the delis, you can go to the butcher, you can go to the pizza guy, and then just bring it to the bar and eat there and watch football if you want. And the day I was there, it was Fordham's homecoming. So it was a hell of a party. That's just, it's one of those really New Yorky places, and they call it the real Little Italy. This is in the Belmont section of the Bronx, where Frankie and the Belmonts came from. It's a blast. There's my rendition of the exterior of the place. it was one of those markets that was built in the 30s and 40s under Fiorella LaGuardia to move the pushcart markets indoors, kind of modernize the New York street market scene. And there's one in the Bronx, and there's a couple in Manhattan, and there's at least one in Brooklyn that I know of. Wonderful places to visit. And with that beer hall, it brings it to another level. It brought a lot of new people in. And next, I think we're going to Brooklyn. Yes. This is not too far from where I live. This is the Brooklyn Inn in Borum Hill. That's on the corner of Hoyt and Bergen, not far from the FG stop. And it's one of the oldest bars in Brooklyn. It might be the oldest bar. 1885, I believe, is the date that it opened. A gorgeous place. And if you go to the next picture, Deborah, it'll show you. So the first was my pen and ink version. And then that was my my colorized version. Yep. So you can kind of see. Yeah. And I made silk screen prints out of these bars, and that's just a 3-color silk screen print. The process is done much like T-shirts are done, and that's kind of a sacred space to a lot of people. The Brooklyn Inn. It's got huge ceilings, 25-foot ceilings, I believe. The back bar is one of those beautiful old beer hall style back bars, mahogany, just gorgeous. It soars above you, and the mirrors behind it are just gorgeous. It's one of those places that takes on different personalities as the day goes on. Early in the afternoon, I think they open mid-afternoon actually. It's a much quieter place than in the evening, and on weekends it's bananas. All bets are off. So a lot of bars in New York are mood dependent on the person going to the bar, and time dependent based on what the bar is like. There are some places that are just a nightmare on a Friday night, whereas on a Thursday afternoon, they'd be a beautiful place to visit. If you ever do come to Brooklyn, this is one of the nice places to go visit. It's very Brooklyny. It's the kind of place you take out of towners. There's a good local scene there, but it's not so clubby that you'd feel weird walking into a place like this. But I would check it out on a weekday afternoon or a weekend afternoon. It's a great beer and a whiskey kind of place. That's the what to drink part of the book. Is every bar has a suggestion of some beverage to have while you're there. And they pour a good Guinness there. Now here we get to a history bar. This is the Ear Inn. It's one of the bars that almost everybody seems to know about this place. There's a Venn diagram of bars people know about and bars people like. And this one has, I think, the highest crossover of the two. It's a very old place. It may go back to 1817. That brings us to what's the oldest bar in New York, or what are the oldest bars in New York argument. I don't really care. I just like a place with a good vibe. And some people say this is the oldest. Other people say McSorley's. Other people say Nears in Queens. But this place is it's kind of an odd neighborhood. It's not really it's in Soho, but it's way on the west side. It's kind of South Village or Southwest Village. It used to be right next to the Hudson. And they did landfill in the 1800s and pushed the Hudson about a block away. So it was a waterfront bar. It was a tobacco warehouse in 1817, and they started, there are records that they sold alcohol there back then. The reason the place got the name The Ear, and you can see it here, is that sign, of course, said bar, but one of the owners back in the 70s, his name was Rip Heyman. They published a music magazine on the second floor called Ear. And this had been a landmark building. He was unable to change the facade, but he could just slap some black paint over the neon, the edge of the B in the neon for bar, and change it to Ear. So ever since then, it's the Ear Inn. Beautiful place, a history bar. Deborah, if you go back to the previous slide, yeah, those are some of the things that they found when they did an excavation beneath the Ear Inn several years ago. Just a ton of artifacts down there. And one of the coolest things, they have them above the bar on the first floor and up on the second floor as well. One of the coolest things that they found were a ton of busted champagne bottles and heaps of oyster shells. And they figured it was a picnic area, as it was overlooking the Hudson. Back in the Dutch days, the bottles were quite old, and they reckon that they came from the 1600s. So it was a picnic area at one time for Dutch, and they have the goods to prove it. And then I think we can, yeah, this will just give you an idea of some of the beauty of the ear at night. They have a nice outdoor area to hang out. Another great place to take people. If anybody comes to Manhattan, if you take them there, they're going to have a good time. It's got a locals feel to it. It's not a stuck-up place. Almost always a good mood at this place, I've found anyway. And it's a wonderful place for lunch or to go late night.
We had a question just directly relevant
Yeah,
to the
hit
sign.
me anytime.
What was it called exactly before it was called it wasn't
Right.
just called bar, I assume.
Right. It was unofficial. I guess it was unofficially called the Green Door because the door was green. Before that, it was owned by a guy named Thomas Cloak, who brewed beer there, and I think whiskey as well, if it's to be believed. But again, the malarkey factor in the bar world and bar history world is this high. There's just a lot of BS being tossed about bar history, but who cares? So Thomas Cloak it was called Thomas Cloak's before it was the Green Door. And before that, it was owned by a guy named James Brown, who was an aide to George Washington in the Revolution. He was the original owner, the tobacco guy. It's just a lovely place, though. And then I think my rendition is the next one. There it is. I kind of do caricatures of these bars. I'm a cartoonist, and so I exaggerate them a little bit and warp the perspective and that sort of thing. So they're more cartoons than obviously than faithful renditions. And then the next one is a place near and dear to my heart. This is down in Red Hook in Brooklyn, on Van Brunt Street, Fort Defiance, a lovely corner tavern that I worked at for 3 years while I was working on the book. And it's opened by a fellow named St. John Frizzell, who came up here from living in New Orleans for a while and wanted to find a place like he had down in New Orleans, these sort of all-purpose neighborhood hangouts. And so he opened one up. It's named after a kind of a half-assed fort that the rebels put up during the Revolutionary War. When the British were amassing in the harbor, they had a fort down in Red Hook. It was probably just dirt and timber that they named Fort Defiance. It didn't hold up, but that's what the bar is named after, and survived the Hurricane Sandy, and the neighborhood loves it. This is one of the places that has done an interesting pivot during COVID. Mr. Frizzell has created he changed his business plan a little bit and turned it into a general store. So what people are doing now are going there for takeout food, takeout drinks. Last time I was there was some sidewalk seating, but they're changing. So they haven't closed. They in fact got a larger location by lease up the street, and will continue to ply their trade that way. And then there's a couple of pictures of me in action here behind the bar. I believe that's a Tom Collins. Yes, it is. And then we can look at my different hair. Yeah, there it is. Shaking a bottle of heavy cream for the Irish coffees. They make the best Irish coffee in the known universe, I think is what Pete Wells said. And I think it's true. And a glass that looks like a parrot, because tiki drinks are outstanding at Fort Defiance. So if you ever are down in Red Hook, check it out. Now we go up to the Bronx, and this is almost in Westchester. The Gun Hill Brewing Company is in Olinville, up in the Bronx, and I put it in the book because it's part of a trend of all these small breweries opening up all over the city. that are becoming kind of local hangouts. You know, they're not exactly local bars. They're not that, but they're almost like community centers. And I'm not sure if Manhattan has one, but certainly all the other boroughs do. There's Flagship down in Staten Island, and here in Brooklyn, there's several. There's Threes Brewing is not too far from where we live here, and Other Half and Folkspear, and Gun Hill up in the Bronx is a beauty. Single Cut in Queens, similar thing. So people just, they hang out there. You know, they have indoor outdoor seating. They've got TVs with the game on. They've got food, and they've got the freshest beer you're going to have anywhere ever. And Gun Hill's just one of those beautiful places that's become, it's kind of a trend. I mean, these places are opening up, and let's hope they stay open, of these beautiful brew pubs that are all over town. Oh, and the name Gun Hill, that's a little interesting for history buffs. Gun Hill was a hill that also during the Revolutionary War, they put a cannon up on top of it. The rebels, or the patriots, whatever you want to call them, Continental Army rolled a cannon up this hill on a road, which now has the name Gun Hill Road. And these guys that opened it wanted to have kind of a historical name, and they just happened to find a place a few yards south of Gun Hill Road, and it's the Gun Hill Brewing Company. Anyway, so that's the little tidbit behind that. So yeah, here's a place. It's one of a kind. It's Hank's Saloon, and RIP, it's gone now. In Borum Hill / kind of North Gowanus part of Brooklyn. It was an old dive bar. It serviced a lot of the iron workers that lived in the neighborhood. There were a lot of Mohawk Indian tribesmen that worked on the bridges and the skyscrapers, and a lot of them lived around the Gowanus, Borum Hill area. So it was that kind of bar back in the day. Now it was in its most recent incarnation. It was Hank's Saloon. It was a kind of a rock and roll dive bar, a beautiful place. It's one of those places that got away from us in about 2 years ago. And who can name that burger? We got a lot of guides people here. Somebody knows what this burger is. The giveaway is the tablecloth. It's that green check. That's J.G. Mellon's, and that's on the Upper East Side. That's I believe 74th and 3rd Street. A wonderful local corner tavern with a great burger and a lot of good history here on the Upper East Side. It was opened in the 70s by a couple of guys the restaurant where they were working was going under, and they opened this place. They wanted to have a good location. They wanted to have a good burger, and it flew. The society people, the so-called society people, fell in love with it in the summer when their favorite place closed for a couple of weeks. And Jackie O went there, and a lot of the hoi polloi of New York, or the high flyers, the mayors and the senators and governors and the occasional president. And one of the things is everybody was treated equally at this place. And it's still a wonderful place to visit. It's busy. You know, I'll warn you, any mealtime, it's going to be busy, but I would like to be in that place when it's busy. It's got such a buzzy vibe to it. You can definitely eat outside. I ate there last month, and it was great. Burger was wonderful, but it didn't have that crazy vibe. Everybody had to wait, and people weren't used to waiting, the rich people and the society people, but they had to as well. Sean Young, the manager, longtime manager, he told me a story about Princess Grace one time showing up with a friend. It was 1975 or so, and it was a 30-minute wait. So she, being the class act that she was, she grabbed a Heineken and jumped up on the jukebox and waited for her table. The one time somebody didn't have to wait for a table was in 1975 when they got a call during the dinner rush that the president was going to come and wanted a table for two. And Sean Young said, it's Friday night. Yeah, we got a 20, 30-minute wait right now. He said, the president's coming. He wants a table for two, hung up. So they set up a table for President Ford. He and his wife came. Lovely couple, I'm told. And when they were leaving, Mrs. Ford had to use the ladies' room. So Gerald Ford was chatting with the manager, Sean, for a while. And when they left, the staff said, hey, what were you talking with the president for 10 minutes? And he said, burgers. The president just wanted to talk about burgers. The stories, true or not, and I think that one's true. True or not, when you're talking to bar managers and bar owners, the stories are the best. Let them rip. Don't even question them. You can do your homework later, but it's just fun to hear them, malarkey and all. I love them. So yeah, that's J.G. Mellon's beautiful burger, and then I think Deborah, if we go to the next, and there's the building on the outside. And that's Upper East Side. That was, it's been a bar since at least the 30s. They took over a place, I believe it was called the Central Bar back in the day. Beautiful neon, classic New York place. And then we stay in Manhattan, and guys, this is a gem. Jimmy's Corner, it's still there. It's in Times Square. It's one of the only dive bars, really good old dive bars left around Times Square. It's on 44th Street, just a click to the east of Broadway. And it's been there for a very long time. It used to be called Club 140, but it's Jimmy's Corner because Jimmy Glenn, who owned it, RIP, he just passed away a couple of months ago. Jimmy Glenn, who owned it, was a boxer and manager. He managed a gym, taught people how to fight. And he opened this bar. He met his wife, Swanee, back in the late 60s, I think, at the bar when it was called 140. And it's a beautiful, kind of a leveler, a social leveler. If you're rich, if you're poor, if you're homeless, if you're a millionaire, you go there, you get the same experience everybody else gets. It's packed. The beer's cheap. They can keep it cheap because the landlord loves them. So he hasn't raised the rent much. And one of the nice pieces of trivia about this place is if you've ever seen Raging Bull, we've probably all seen Raging Bull. There's that scene toward the end. It's awful and beautiful and awful. It's a scene where De Niro as Jake LaMotta is doing this horrible comedy patter at this seedy club. And he's standing up on a couple of stairs and there's a jukebox next to him and he's awful and puffy and vulgar and the audience is drunk and they're heckling him and he's giving it back. That was filmed at Jimmy's Corner. It's got one of the best jukeboxes in town. It's very well curated by Jimmy Glenn himself. And I think they've kept it that way. And next to the jukebox are a couple of steps that lead up to the back room. That's where De Niro stood while he did that scene. And I think you get a view from De Niro's spot on the next slide. Right there, right? So that would be right between the back room and the front room looking out. And it's one of those skinny old Manhattan dives. And it's wonderful, very crowded after work, but worth hanging around for. It's a good vibe. Never a crossword at Jimmy's. They've got a piece of printer paper pasted up behind the bar that says, "Let's not discuss politics here." And nobody does. I mean, I've never seen anybody do it. I've seen people talk about cannibalism there, but it was in a jocular, tasteful way. It's a wonderful bar. Again, great place to take out-of-towners. And if you're in Times Square and you need a normal place to sit down, Jimmy's is your place. John, are there any other questions that we need to answer? If not, we can just go to the next.
Sorry, let me cue them up. I'm sorry, just to click away from
Hannibal, tasteful, yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked, I'll just go through it and order a few things. Somebody asked, what is an OG bar? I actually don't.
Original gangsta. My wife came up with that term for OG beer bars, like the old school beer bars that were doing the beer geek thing before everybody else was. And there's a few of them. Mugs, which unfortunately closed in Williamsburg, was one of them. The Ginger Man in Manhattan was one of them as well.
There was a question about art, your artistic method and so forth, and I want to go into that a little bit. Like first of all, like what is your process for drawing these?
Oh yeah. Well, I've tried to draw them standing in front of the bar, and you just get hassled that way. Everybody wants to talk to you about what you're doing. I got to concentrate when I draw, so I take pictures, use those as reference. Work it out in a sketchbook, kind of catch the feel of the exterior. Like I said, I do caricatures of them. It's a cartoonish way of dealing with it. And so I'll pencil it out first. I'll get it to where I like it, do that penciling then on good paper, and then it's just pen and ink. I will use a brush, a rapidograph pen maybe, and ink it, and then I'll scan it. And then I'll do the colors. Generally, I would do the colors then in Photoshop and create the different layers of colors that would then be used to print the posters or the final prints, which were many of them done in a silkscreen process. Like t-shirts are made. They lay down one color, let that dry, lay down another color, let that dry, and then put the black, what would have been the inking screen over the top of it. So you'd get a 3-color print that way.
You didn't do these for the book. Did you do these for the book primarily, or was this something you've just been doing?
Well, it started out, the original 6 that I did were just a project kind of for my own enjoyment. It was just something to work on and to have a project to do. And then I got the book deal, and then I had to come up with 44 more. And that was the fun part, on deadline. So that's how that came about.
What do you think, like the style you're using, talk a little about that, and then like how does that, I know you started making the drawings first and then you got a book deal, but how do you think your style of drawing, helps us appreciate, like why not have photographs of the bars in there, for example, what are you trying to convey, or some other, style of drawing?
Yeah, I guess, photographs are great. Everybody sees a photograph more or less the same way. That's how we perceive something. To draw it, to do an illustration of anything. I mean, to take Al Hirschfeld, for example, he was a master caricaturist. Why not just use photographs of Broadway actors and people like that? Well, you get a little bit more personality through the abstraction, I think, of drawing. I don't have the patience or the talent to draw super realistically, but I do enjoy a good caricature, a good cartoon. They're more fun. I think they've been described. David Wondrich called them jaunty, the cocktail writer at the Daily Beast, which is really sweet. They're fun. I think they have a little more sense of bounce to them. I think maybe I'm analyzing my own stuff too much, talking about it. That's just the way I draw. It was an outgrowth of Mad Magazine and the underground cartoonists as well. Robert Crumb for sure, definitely the Mad Magazine usual gang of idiots. One of the usual gang of idiots, as the staff of Mad was so lovingly referred to themselves as, took me to one of the bars in the book. Al Jaffe, one of my favorite cartoonists as a kid, still alive. When we lived in Manhattan, I wrote him and just said, "Hey Al, I just wanted to say hi, love your stuff. Been a fan since I was a little kid." And he said, "Come on over and see the studio. I'll show you what I'm working on." And we hit it off, and his wife is lovely, Joyce, and Colleen and Joyce and Al and I went out to Neary's on the east side, not too far from the Sutton Place neighborhood. Neary's Tavern, just a lovely upscale Irish tavern. So bringing it back to, yes, Mad Magazine was an influence.
Before we move on from the drawing, Deborah, do you want to chime in on that at all? Just because I know you've got a very different angle than I do on that.
Coming from an illustration background, I absolutely love John's work. I would agree with jaunty, but there is something fresh. And I also think just by the process of somebody, another human being looking at something and making the shapes that describe that thing, they are sharing their experience of that thing with you in a way you might not be able to do on your own.
Thanks, Deborah.
Now, how many places do you go? You've mentioned, I think, a number, either 50 or 52. Did you go to more in the process of doing the book, and have to cut things out, or how did that work?
Yeah, we went to so many. I mean, I went to a lot. Colleen, bless her, she went to a lot with me. I had helper livers. I probably went to 250, something like that, to narrow it down to the 50, maybe more. It's blurry for some reason. I have no idea why, but it was a lot of fun to do the research, but taxing. I mean, some nights it would be like, Friday night, go out to 4 places. Saturday, go to 5 places. Sunday, go to 4 more places. Monday, try not to kill yourself. It was rough. You can't just go to a bar and not drink, but you really had to take good care of yourself. Yeah, tough life. I know.
You make it really sound hard work. Oh man.
By the end of the project, it had taken my hair was jet black, when we started this thing. So that tells you something. It was a lot of fun, but the big question is, like, why did you pick the places, or how did you even narrow it down and find places to go? I talked to a lot of people. I read a lot of stuff. You look at those lists, those Thrillist lists and things like that, and it's like the 50 places to drink before you die. But who cares? I wasn't concerned with cocktails. I was concerned with places with personality, places that had a local following that loved them. So it was more talking to people that people told me to talk to, and digging a little deeper. And some of the places in the book are obvious. McSorley's, I've been in love with McSorley's before I moved here. I just love the place, the history of it. And on an off day, on a quiet afternoon, it's a wonderful place to be. Some of the places were brand new to me. Some of the places are old bars and some are new bars. As long as people loved them, and you can feel it, when you're at a place with a good vibe, and the clientele is into it and having a good time. That's what meant something to me when I picked these places.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you as a tour guide, and I think many people will chime in with this. One of the common questions we get by clients is they want to find a local place. They don't want to go to where all the tourists go. They want a place that locals go to, and then those people end up going to the Applebee's on Times Square. But that's the issue. That you're filling such a, like, this could be a guide for visiting New York. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Do you see it as like that?
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people. It's sold throughout the country, and I think other countries as well. To the people that love to travel. And the thing about travel is, if you're doing it right, you get a peek under the veneer of the place you're visiting. You get to interact with the locals. And bars are a great place to do that. It's like, I mean, parks are wonderful too, but a good bar is a wonderful thing to find, to just hang out. A cafe too, a coffee shop. So yeah, a lot of people have used it as sort of a guidebook, and I wouldn't recommend that in one weekend, but it's definitely been used as that way, from what I've heard.
Now we have some other questions that Ben Golan asks. If I can give shout out to people asking great questions. What did you ever have difficulty getting permission to use these places? Did you feel you needed to ask? How did you go discussing it with the venues themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I went into a place, I never told them I was doing a book, or I was like scouting the place. I didn't want that to shape the experience. But after I decided upon a place, I would then contact the owner and the manager, whoever, and say, look, I'd like to include you in the book. Some people were great about it. Some people would get right back and say, yeah, let's talk. Other people were just not into the idea. There was maybe one place in the book where I didn't have an interview with the owner or manager, but I still had to put it in the book because it was a place that I love so much and have had some good experiences in, but we just couldn't work it out. And there were several places that didn't make it in the book because they weren't into it, or they just didn't get back to me. But as far as asking permission, I guess I kind of did in a roundabout way by just talking to them about the place. If they had said, no, we don't want to be in your book, I wouldn't have, but most people would be into being in a book, I think.
I would think so too. Yeah, it's always, there's no bad publicity. I think there were some.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was doing
like that.
It wasn't like I was doing reviews of these. I guess I kind of was, but they were already vetted. They were already considered okay
Right.
by me, and then I wasn't going to tear them up for having a dirty bathroom or something like that. Not that I would go to that kind of place.
Now we had a few questions about specific places. I'll save those for a second. Jim Carr asked, are there any upscale places that you really like? That's an interesting question.
Oh yeah. Oh, also I love the shout out to Pete Hamill. Yeah, rest in peace. I love that guy, and have his book was something of an inspiration to a drinking life. Upscale bars. Yeah, you know what's great? The fancy hotels on the Upper East Side. Going to those bars, that's a blast. You got to go to Bemelman's. Places like that. The Carlisle, wonderful. Cocktail bars are fantastic, but mostly I want to find vibe. Pegu Club on Houston, that was a beauty. It's gone now, unfortunately. Neary's, the place that Al Jaffe took me, was fairly fancy. It's not stuffy, but they had something of a dress code, like no sneakers and jeans for men, something like that. Harry's Cafe down in the Wall Street area on Hanover Square, kind of fancy, but it had a vibe. It had that after work Wall Street vibe, which is foreign to me, but I found it a lot of fun. So yeah, there are definitely some fancy places in the book, but in general, I think a fancy hotel bar is a great place to go. But now there's all the fancy hipster cocktail bars. Every city has them. You go to any city above 20,000 people, and there's going to be a fancy cocktail bar there. Some of them are great. I mean, some people don't like hipsters. I get it, but some of those places are wonderful to hang out.
John, let's because we are getting a little low on time. I know there's always going to be more questions, but why don't we get going on the slides? Just to
let's roll.
We don't miss out any.
The Keep. This is a magical bar in Ridgewood, Queens. It's used to be it was kind of a rough restaurant way back in the day. There were 3 mob killings there one night in 1969. But now it's kind of this magical antique shop run by an Edward Gorey type character. And that's Ridgewood, right near Bushwick on Cypress, I believe, and Star. A beautiful, strange bar. The next picture will show you kind of what it looks like sitting at the bar. It's a bit like an eccentric antique shop, and a wonderful place to visit. And we can keep rolling through more quickly if we need to. Staten Island, again, my favorite pizza, maybe in New York City. This is Lee's Tavern in Dongan Hills, just about a minute's walk from the Staten Island Railway. A beautiful corner tavern, family friendly. The current owners, the family that runs it, the Palomini family, bought it from the previous owner, Lee Moresco, for $1 in 1969. Great place to visit. Get the pizza. I recommend the sausage, garlic, and mozzarella, as they say. And then that's the pie right there with a fine, fresh, probably a Coors Light. And then I think we have another Staten Island bar, Leedy's Shore Inn. Old place, maybe the oldest bar in Staten Island. It's been around since the 1890s, in the same family, the Leedy family. becomes a party, a real old-fashioned Staten Island live music bar on the weekends. Definitely worth checking out if you ever get over there. It's in the New Brighton neighborhood as well, near the Kill Van Kull across from Bayonne. This is my local, the Long Island Bar. This is right down the street here on Atlantic Avenue. It's been around since about 1950. Sat vacant for several years recently, and the owners, the folks that run the place now, got the lease. The people that own the building, own the bar, said don't change it a lot, and they didn't. I mean, they polished it up, they put some new lights in, they fixed that neon sign, and the place is just gorgeous. That's my local. I love it. Oh, and Toby Cicchini, who runs the place, he is the inventor or reinventor of the Cosmopolitan cocktail. So if you ever go there and Cicchini's working, have him make you a Cosmo. It's fun to watch him furrow his brow and then make it perfectly. And that's my version of it, just kind of a noir, neon heavy take on the place. And McSorley's. We talked about McSorley's a little bit here. Just the granddaddy of New York bars. 1854, they say. It's a history bar. It's beautiful. R.I.P. to the owner, Matty Marr. He just passed away and gave the bar to his daughter, Teresa. This was a notoriously men's-only bar until 1970, and now it's run by Teresa Marr, his daughter, and she's the boss now. So I think it's going to stay a women-friendly bar. And this is a good place to visit on off hours. Some people don't like it when it gets too crowded. I get it. The NYU crowd, the tourists, Friday, Saturday night. Check it out on a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday evening or an afternoon. It's still beautiful, and it's a great place to be in daylight and check out the history on the walls. John Lennon used to go there, and he'd sit to those windows on the left and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes and write, according to Maddie, the boss. And he found out they knew each other as kids. He went up and talked to him. And when Maddie grew up in Kilkenny, John Lennon used to visit his uncle there, who had a drapery shop. And they would play on the sidewalks together back in the day. And then I think we're getting to another oldest bar. Oh, that's the interior of McSorley's, as painted by John Sloan in the early part of the 20th century. And it doesn't look that much different today. And then we go to Nears. Hey, this is where they filmed a couple of beautiful scenes in Goodfellas. This is the infamous Take It Back scene with De Niro. And it's been around for a while, 1829, they say. And if you go to the next one, you can see my rendition of the exterior. It was right across from the country's largest racetrack, the Union Course. And it was a hotel with a bar, naturally. Mae West sang here. It was turned into more of an entertainment hall in the early 20th century. And she was Mary Jane West, just a girl from Queens who sang at this place, Nears Tavern. A wonderful place to take people. And ice cold beer, because they have this interesting cooling system called the jockey box. It's very old fashioned. They have all these wires, all these tubes that come up from the kegs up to the taps, and then they pack them with ice, and they stay ice cold. It's a good joint. And then another oldest bar is coming up next. Good old Pete's Tavern. This is in Gramercy. Nears was in Woodhaven, Queens. Pete's is in Gramercy in Manhattan. Beautiful place to take people. A gorgeous bar, a perfect old beer bar in that it was built by a brewer, George Ehret, who ran the Hell's Gate Brewery up on the Upper East Side. That was not uncommon that these German beer barons would build these beautiful taverns, the beautiful mahogany bars, and then you were only allowed to sell their beer. So it started as that back in the day. And then during Prohibition, I think if we go to the next slide, it was a quote unquote florist. If you look, there are flowers in the window, the florist sign out front. But off to the right-hand side, you see the entrance to what was once the dining room. And if you went in there, they would be selling flowers. But to the left was a refrigerator that had a few carnations and roses in it. If you went through the refrigerator, it opened up in back into this front part of the bar off to the left side of the picture, which is kind of cool. That's a good scam. I'm sure everybody knew what was going on. It was 2 blocks away from Tammany Hall, but it's a good story. It's a romantic bar too. People get engaged there. 8 of the last 10 general managers of Pete's have met their spouses there. And I think if we go to the next slide, it's where Miranda asked Pete to marry her on Sex and the City. They were sitting outside having a beer at Pete's, or I'm sorry, asked Steve to marry her. So it's got that pedigree too. Generations of people get engaged there. The GM, Gary Egan, told me that a kid got married there or engaged there recently, and his father had asked his mom to marry him there, and the same with the grandfather. So 3 generations and counting. And if we keep going, we get to a totally different kind of place, Stan's Sports Bar in the Bronx, right across from Yankee Stadium, or Old Yankee Stadium, just down the street from New Yankee Stadium. Pandemonium. It's the kind of place you go, obviously, to get riled up and go see a ball game. They're only open when the Yankees are playing at home, or there's a concert, or maybe when the Pope visits Yankee Stadium. It's closed now. It's off season. We'll see if it comes back. Knock wood, it will. But that's the kind of place that's it's an occasion bar, and you got to have your big boy pants on if you go there because it's loud. And my take on the exterior, it's right underneath the subway tracks there, and you can't hear the subway go by because it's so loud in stands before a game. But if you're in the mood, it's a blast. And then I think we're finishing up with another place near and dear to my heart, Sonny's Bar in Red Hook. And this was a waterfront bar. This is one of the original 6 that I did. I don't live too far from Red Hook. Yeah, it was a total on the waterfront bar. So this kind of shows you, if you go back and forth, Deborah, you can see how I take a picture and then I just sort of create a cartoon from the picture. 1890s was in the family all those years. Sonny Balzano, who was the grandson of the guy who opened it, died a couple of years ago, but his widow saved the place. She survived. They survived Hurricane Sandy. The place was beaten to hell after that situation. She has since purchased the building that the bar is in and the building next to it from 15 of the family members from Sonny's family and 2 lawyers who are representing other people with interests in the bar. And it will stay around. They have music in the backyard these days. And it's a wonderful place to go see music. Again, if you're in Brooklyn, that's a place to take people. It's a local bar with a lot of style. Yeah, Friday and Saturday night it gets busy with the quote unquote bridge and tunnelers coming in from Manhattan. But on a regular afternoon or a Tuesday, Wednesday evening, it's a beautiful place to be. And I think that pretty much wraps up the slideshow. Oh, there's the book. That's my website right there, tebeau.com. If anybody would like to go to the website, I do sell prints of all the bars, and we're offering a discount on for anybody that's watching this. Just use the code GANYC, all capital. I'll type it in, GANYC. And that will get you 25% off any prints or original art that you'd like to buy before the end of December. So, and if you'd like to get a book, please do it through a small bookstore or Rizzoli or the Strand or somebody in your neighborhood.
John, there are more questions, and I think, as we talked about before, you may be able to answer a handful
Sure.
after the presentation by just staying on. People asked about the sawdust and couple of specific bars were mentioned. You knew about Rudy's and Terminal Bar and Grill, and our request for good live music. But I wanna just close with bars and pubs. I think we all know have played different roles, and I'm curious what you think some of the important roles they play in the community. One role that I've experienced, I spent a lot of my adult life before I came to New York living outside of the United States in Moscow, Russia, and I experienced the importance of bars for expats, for foreigners, wanting to go there to watch sporting events, in part to congregate with fellow fans of the same sporting team, but also because if you're living abroad, back then in particular, this was a few years earlier, people couldn't necessarily watch any match they wanted on their television or even on their computer. They had to go. If you wanted to watch the NBA Finals, you had to go to one or two places in Moscow to watch it. I mean, it just was, and so that I remember nights at 3 a.m. going to watch the NBA Finals and things like that. Bars played an incredibly important role, and I just recently visited a place because the soccer star Diego Maradona from Argentina died. And I went to a place that Argentinians often congregate for sports called Boca Juniors in Queens. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And they've created a shrine for Diego Maradona. He's, an incredible figure. He's revered as much as the Pope would be, or some similar stature figure. He's been given like 3 days of official state, whatever, so it's like, it's huge. It's hard to comprehend how big he is there. But they've created a shrine. So it's the place that Argentinians and other fans of that sports star can go and find a connection that would be maybe hard to find, outside. So what is your, how do you communicate the importance of a bar or tavern? And that will close with that question. Pardon me. I'm sorry that we didn't get to any others, but you'll be online to perhaps.
Yeah, I'll answer some of these in the chat. Yeah, they're like clubhouses, some of them. They're like clubs at certain times, especially. Like, for instance, perfect example is the World Cup. The different bars that are taken over by the different nationalities, and then the soccer bars, especially the places that are there's one down the street, the Atlantic Chip Shop was an Arsenal bar. And that's who went there. And it was so fun on World Cup Day or whenever they were playing. That was the place you'd want to be for an Arsenal game or for any British soccer games, big games. I think they play that clubhouse thing. We need to connect with other people. And if that's your tribe, it's good to have a physical place to go, whether it's a Packers bar or the Arsenal bar, or the whatever a recent immigration or recent immigrants group might be, like the Polish bars up in Greenpoint. You want to be with your people, you need that, and it's fun to be able to explore those places as well. But show due respect for other people. That's their place.
Okay. Have you had a chance to promote yourself as much as you wished? Again, I think you've got places where you can get buy your prints, and of course we've posted the link. I'll post the link to Rizzoli once again in just a second. You'll be able to stay on and answer more questions. We do have to get more. I know we're over time. Thank you very much for my fellow board members for granting us a little more time. Thanks so much to Deborah for doing the production here. It was she who took the images and made it into a very sensible visual spread. And thanks to all of my fellow board members for helping. Please stay safe, John. Don't be careful going out to crowded bars for the time being. But let's just hope that these places are back and we can go and enjoy and be in crowded bars once more at some point.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks. It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you very much, John T, for coming to speak with us, and John S for bringing him. It's really great, and I think a lot of the comments of people are very nostalgic for the times when we could crowd into bars. And I've been to many a bar for sporting events, from watching Serie A, Italian soccer out in Bensonhurst at the crack of dawn with my husband.
Yeah.
Slept out there. And then I would drag him to watch football games. And I introduced him to buffalo wings and football games and beer in front of a bar, in front of TV in a bar. And when he moved to the States.
Perfect.
So, yeah, they're great. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, John. So
Thanks,
what I'm
Emma.
going to do, John, is if you would just want to stay on and look into the look in the Q&A and just
Sure.
answer questions there. I'm just going to put you on mute for now, and we're going to move on with the rest of our meeting. And you all can see there's some links in the chat for John's contact. Remember, use Ganec as your discount code. And one point I do want to bring up, I think it might have passed through, as Kevin pointed out, bars are so important for the LGBTQ community. I mean, without Stonewall, where would we be? And that's a
Right.
bar. So yeah, so great. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. And let's move on then to our committees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Matt Baker on as he's in the attendees. I'll bring him on as a speaker. And so Matt Baker, I'm promoting you to panelist, and you'll be able to speak in just a moment. Okay, so here we are. Let's just see where. There we are. Okay, here's Matt.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Wonderful. Yeah, every time I get brought on as a speaker, it kicks me out of Zoom. Sorry about that. I really quick just need to say, John, thank you. That was friggin' amazing. Great presentation. If you ever want to write a sequel book about bars and you really find the field research too taxing, I'll do it. Okay.
I think a lot of people will.
All right. So, all right, Ganec Apple Awards, which I so many things that were just talked about made me think of various things that happened in the Ganec Apple Awards, like, Bronx Beer Hall, which was one of our sponsors in year 4. We've got a lot going on right now. Most importantly is we have really started launching our sponsorship and advertisement campaign. As you all know by now, this year it's virtual. We are going to be doing it on the Livestorm platform on February 22nd, the week of International Tourist Guide Day. So buying ads is different this year from what it is in the past, because instead of a couple hundred people sitting in a theater with ads in the program, we are looking for a much wider audience all around the world tuning into what is essentially an internet TV show, and we have ad space flashing across the screen. The simplest thing you can purchase if you want to buy an ad for, say, your tour company is $25. That is the same price that a ticket to the show would be in the live theater. It's only $5, to tune into the, internet television show. But $25 would buy you a 5-second ad of your company's logo, in my case, Beautiful New York Tours, flashing across the screen for 5 seconds. And it then goes up incrementally, depending on what kind of ad you want, until you get to, $1,000 for 2, big 10-second ads with the voiceover of an announcer, Ganec Apple Awards brought to you by One World Observatory. Don't you want to see forever? Or something like that. You would provide the copy. But there are lots and lots of ad opportunities available. We are spending this week sending out to our industry partners and other businesses we know. But of course, a lot of the businesses we know are each other. So again, starting at a measly $25, at some of the bars John's profiling, you can't get a drink for that. Well, maybe not at his bars, but but there are places where you can't get a drink for that. You can get a little 5-second logo ad. So we are going to have forms and all of that available to you on the Ganec website and sent through emails and on our members only Facebook page. The fun part of tonight's report, though, is we now have our nominees. The nominees have been decided by the committee based on the pre-nominations that everyone in the association who was interested submitted. So I know my time is short, so I'm gonna run through this as fast as I possibly can. In the category of Outstanding Achievement in Support of New York City Culture, the nominees are Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, The Line at the Public Theater, first drama about the pandemic, the Museum of the Chinese in America, and the Schomburg Center. In the category of Outstanding Achievement in Support of New York City Preservation, our nominees are the East Harlem Preservation, the Historic House Trust NYC, the Merchants House Museum, which fought off its next door construction, and the Sunset Park Landmarks Committee. In the category of Outstanding Achievement in Support of New York City Tourism, we have Adventure Club, Here Be Bar, the NYC LGBT Historic Sites Project, and WFUV George Bodarky. In Outstanding New York City Website, we have the Bowery Boys. This is the only category they haven't been nominated in yet. Destination Accessible, whom some of you will remember, Murph Guide, and Untapped New York. For Outstanding Achievement in New York City Photography, the Black Lives Matter protest by David D. Delgado, Dancer in Front of the Guggenheim by Jonathan K. Taylor, Greenwood Cemetery incurred Nathan Kensinger. Nathan Kensinger is now the Susan Lucci of the Ganec Apple Awards. And Up in the Heights by Ganec's own A.J. Stevens. For Outstanding Achievement in Radio and Podcast, Audio, Spoken Word, we have Cafe Stay Tuned with Preet B, the Gotham Center, Lost NYC, the History Author Show, Alan D. Gaff, specifically the Lou Gehrig Lost Memoir episode, and the WQXR Mostly Mozart Festival online. For Outstanding Achievement in Book Writing Fiction, Brooklyn Roses by Catherine Gigante Brown, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis. She's been nominated before, never won. We Came Here to Shine by Susie Orman Schnall. In nonfiction, we have Boss of the Grits by Eric K. Washington, The Invention of Public Space, Designing for Inclusion in Lindsay's New York by Mariana Mogilevich. I apologize if I mispronounce any names. Walking Broadway by William J. Hennessy, and The Young Lords, A Radical History by Joanna Fernandez. For Outstanding Achievement in Essay, Article, Series Writing, there is The Improbable Journey of Dorothy Parker's Ashes by Lori Gwen Shapiro, writing for The New Yorker. For the Lilith Magazine blog, Monumental Women by Joan L. Roth. For the New York Times, So You Think New York is Dead by none other than Jerry Seinfeld. And the Take a Walk New York newsletter, which is a digital newsletter in the community. For Outstanding Achievement in New York City Food, we have For 80 Years of Kosher Excellence, the B&H Dairy. For Major Hunger Relief, the Food Bank for New York City. For 100 Years of Dim Sum, the Numwa Tea Parlor. And for Outdoor Socially Distant Fresh Food Options, the NYC Green Markets. And of course, the last category, Robin's favorite, Outstanding Achievement in Museum Exhibitions. For, and again, I apologize if I mispronounce, for Agnes Dane, Absolutes and Intermediates, The Shed. For Ebb and Flow, Tapping into the History of New York City's Water, the New York City Municipal Archives and the Museum of American Finance. For Met 150, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And for Traveling While Black, A Century of Pleasure, Pain, and Pilgrimage, the Schomburg Center. We are going to have the ballots ready for people tonight. I have a link to the final ballot prepared. I'm not putting in the chat because we do have non-members attending this meeting. We love you non-members, but you don't vote. So I'm not putting it in the chat, but we will have it in our website and our Facebook page. And you can vote anytime from when we put up that ballot tonight through January 19th. On January 20th, we tally up the votes and send them to the trophy company. So we will have more on that coming to you via email, website, and Facebook. I see in the chat the Viva Americana at the Whitney. Nobody submitted that as a pre-nomination. So, or if it did, only one person did, and there were others, like 4 people who, 4 other nominees that were considered by more than one. One of the things that the committee takes very seriously is if more than one member submits a pre-nomination for the same thing, that gives it a weighted consideration. If only one does, then the committee argues about it. So that sort of thing does happen. And yes, thank you for the reminder for the ballot that is going up online tonight. Yes, provisional members can vote. You know, I know everyone talks, including me, about what a provisional member is, and it's that they can do anything except vote. And the fact that provisional members can't vote is drummed into everyone's head. This is the one kind of voting that provisional members are allowed to do. So provisional members, please vote for your favorite candidates in your categories. By the way, you will see, I didn't share my screen tonight because I wanted to get it all out there, but you will see on the ballots next to the name of every single nominee, there is a web link. So if you see a nominee and say, oh, I don't really know that website, you can click on it right there on the ballot. There is going to be, lots of information to make sure that you can make the most informed decision that you want. Some of you might know all of the nominated websites already and be ready to vote tonight. Some of you might not. Just bear in mind that unlike the pre-nominations, you can only vote once. So don't start clicking on your ballot thinking you can get back to it later. Make sure you are ready with your categories before you start voting, because once you hit done on your ballot, that's it. That's all I got.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. That was a lot. Breathe, please breathe. All right. Yeah, thanks for getting through all that. And so everybody, yeah, you'll see the links have been posted into the chat, and then you'll be receiving the information. You'll be receiving it as announcements via email as well. Okay, so thank you, Matt Baker. Let's bring in Michael Dillinger now. I'm just going to ask him to come in as a panelist, and who should be here in just a moment. Here we go.
Are we on?
We are on.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. So this is our little report on the certification committee, GANYC certification committee. And the committee is still meeting regularly because we are in the midst of building an online version of the certification class. Eventually, the class will still have some in-person elements, but this is a really exciting opportunity for us to really get the program laid out in a consecutive way that will be easy to follow and that will be replicatable over and over again. Once it's finalized, the online class is finalized, we're going to offer a preview to the membership. We're going to set up like a preview site. You can come in, we'll set up some dates, and you can come in and look at what the program is and how it works and how the site works. We're really excited about what we're able to do with this. We're target for launching the next program will be sometime in January of 2021. That's what we're looking at right now. And the enrollment for the actual course will be capped. Will be capped. I mean, the maximum we figure is 15 participants. We've actually budgeted for a little less because of COVID, but certainly we do have the room if there are enough people that want to take it at that time. The other important thing I just want to mention today is that certification maintenance, anybody who's already been through the program and is a certified GANYC guide, one of the requirements is to maintain your certification by continuing your professional education and development each year. An email went out about this around March, just before everything shut down, which kind of laid out the what was required. The point system is you've garnered a certain number of points by participating in different things. And we had a whole menu of things, and it's going to be slightly altered. We're going to send it out shortly. There will be an online way to actually register your certification maintenance and upload any documents that you need as proof or anything else. But the guides, the certified guides that will be asked to do this are the ones that are from the 2017, 2018, and 2019 courses. The people who did the course in 2020, they're still covered, because you get a full year essentially from the time you do it. So we're kind of behind on some of this, but we're working on it, and it's really, really exciting. The maintenance is based on accumulating a number of points, and you'll, as I said, a Google form for reporting. So the link for the form, along with a copy of the point program as it's been amended, will be sent out shortly, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We are working on that. Once again, we're all volunteers, and for the certification committee anyway, most of the members of the committee are also wearing many other hats in Ganec. In fact, a number of them are here on the board right now, but they're also on the awards committee. They're doing all sorts of other things. They've done an incredible amount of work. We give them all a standing O for their dedication to Ganec. So I thank you. If there's no questions, that's our little report on certification.
Any questions for Michael Dillinger? You can put them into chat. Otherwise, we will move on. Okay, so our next, we have Nina, who will, thank you, Michael. And thanks to the certification, you guys do great stuff. We're gonna have Nina coming on next. All right. Ooh, sorry. So Nina should be here in just a moment. Here she is. Okay.
I'm leaving.
I'll take you down.
Unmute video.
Yeah.
Okay, I did my video.
Nope, not yet, Nina.
Yeah, sometimes it's
That's okay. We can hear you. We can hear
you can hear me? Yeah.
Oh, now we can't. You just muted yourself, dear. So Nina, unmute yourself again.
I did, and
Oh, now you're good. You're good. Don't touch anything.
oh, okay, great. And I did, but
Oh.
for some reason, I don't know why it is. Oh, there I am. But okay,
Here you are.
it keeps going back. Okay, hi everyone. Education report. I just want to thank everyone doing November contributors. Instead of reading them and it becomes a long report, we're listing them. So anyone who's done who's shared their knowledge with us, now you're a part of a permanent index that's listed in the back of each meeting's report. And we'll also put your email. So if you're doing an encore tour, then people can contact you and they know you're the expert to go to. So we've had a wonderful November. You're all listed because it takes a lot of time to go through the whole list. But I just want to promote some upcoming in-person FAMs. We're going to have our first Christmas FAM. Jeremy Wilcox is going to do Dyker Heights Lights FAM, an in-person FAM, December 9th. And Monuments to Freedom and Morningside Heights FAM tour with Alice Hunsberger. Those are in-person FAMs. No one's signed up yet, so this is your chance. I think we limit it to about 15, depending on the guide. But if you can't get in this time, a lot of times the guides will do an encore tour later on. Also coming up tomorrow, and I'm going to hand this over to Kevin because this is his baby. Well, we're continuing with the Met, Thursdays at the Met, celebrating the 150-year anniversary of the Met Museum, and individual Ganec guides take us through their favorite collections. And they're amazing. If you haven't seen them, don't worry. It's accessible on the website. Emma and Kevin have done wonderful tours, and there are many, many more tours. Alice Hunsberger, so don't miss these tours. Robin Garr, amazing. It's so amazing the talent that we have in this organization. So and one more thing I'm going to mention coming up, what we're still working on, our New York part of the virtual seminar on presidential inaugurations. We're getting closer to finding someone for that. And we're very excited about working with DC. And I'm going to let Kevin talk about this wonderful program that he really gets going. So thank you very much, Kevin. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's tour.
Thank you, Nina. Yeah, as Nina mentioned, and it is, of course, the end of the year. And so we are starting to wrap up this series that we've done, Ganec Celebrating the Met at 150. Tomorrow, Mel Lehman, he is going to be giving a biblical archaeology tour of the Near East Department. And then we will conclude with one other tour, which will be about the arts of Africa, Oceania, and the Americas next Thursday on the 10th. But the week after that, on the 17th, as Nina said, we want to sort of celebrate and have all Ganec members be a part of this celebration, celebrate the at 150 by you showcasing one of your favorite pieces. And I haven't gotten as enthusiastic a response to this as I've been trying to promote it. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to really invite you. This can be something really fun. Like what we saw today was really great. Somebody going out and sketching their favorite dive bars. I mean, that's the type of thing that makes an impression upon people and why you would love that type of art. And so I'm putting into the chat room right now my email address, kglnyc@gmail.com. If in a week's time from today, by the 9th, if you could tell me that you are going to participate in this, you don't have to, decide what your work of art is, but that will help us be able to distribute the time according to the number of people who have responded. So I'll put this out again on the Facebook page, but I really just wanted to take this opportunity to thank people and also invite people to participate in that Thursday, December 17th, last communal type of Ganec celebrating the Met at 150.
Anything else? Anything else, Nina? I think we're.
No, we have programming in January, but I just concentrated on December right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. And if you want to see, as Jeremy said, the virtual FAMs, you can see them in the digital library on the Ganec website. You do have to be logged in, so you need to go into the members benefits, and you'll find it there. Okay, so our next is industry relations. So we've got Mike Morgenthau who will be speaking about that. So take it away, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Happy holidays. So just a few things from our committee. As most of you probably figured out at this point, we will not be able to do an in-person post-holiday event this year, but save the date. We are going to try to do a virtual holiday event. It's post-Christmas, pre-New Year's, and kind of a good riddance to 2020 kind of event. So it's going to be Wednesday, December 30th. We're still working out some of the finer details, but I'm going to ask Emma right now, if you can, to send out a poll to everybody who's on the chat right now. We're trying to determine the best time to do it. We actually had a big debate amongst the board about the best time to do it, late afternoon or early evening. It might not seem like a big difference here, but if you guys can kind of cast your votes, and we will take that under advisement. Can't promise that the winning vote will actually be the time we pick. There might be other factors, but this will help us make a decision. As you can see in the poll at the moment, we are planning to charge $5 for members and $10 for non-members. What's that going to get you? Well, we're going to have a couple of kind of presentations. We're working on this right now, maybe a cocktail making class, maybe a cooking exhibition, things like that. And then we're exploring a couple of different platforms. Zoom is one of them. There's another one called Remo. Some of you might have attended the IATDG conference a couple of weeks ago. They used Remo very well. That allows you to kind of pop into different tables or rooms, see who's there, sit down, chat via video chat for a few minutes, and then get up and move on to the next room. So it's kind of the closest thing we can do to having an actual party without actually being in each other's presences. So there'll be more information probably early next week. I think we'll have most of our information squared away. So please stay tuned for that. Speaking of meetings and things like that, we are going to have a committee meeting on December 17th at 2 o'clock. I'm going to email out to the members of the committee shortly in the next day or two. But we're always looking for more members for our committee. Our committee has kind of been a little bit all over the place for the past year or so. And I'd really like to make this a more of a going concern and a regular committee. So if anybody is interested in joining the Industry Relations Committee, and if you're not familiar with this, basically we are the outward facing liaison for Ganec to the travel trade and other parts of the industry. We could use all the help we can get. We have a few things in the fire and there's always more things we could do. So even if you can't make the meeting on December 17th, please let me know if you'd like to be a part of the committee by emailing me at industryrelations@ganec.org. and we will go from there. Just a couple more things. A quick update on Tour Your Own City. Thank you for everybody who's participated. We currently have 125 tours live on the site. Obviously, it's kind of slowed down in terms of new tour submissions. We have heard anecdotal stories of a few guides getting work from the site itself, but it's also had a lot of value in terms of PR and showing that Ganec is going to continue to be a leader when it comes to the recovery of the tourism industry here in New York City. So I just wanted to thank the PR committee, specifically Jeremy, who continues to get out a lot of posts about Tour Your Own City featuring different tours. I also want to say a thank you to Megan Murat. I don't know if she's actually on the meeting right now. She was handling our Instagram account, but some of you may know she actually got a full-time job in social media and asked if she can turn the Instagram duties back over to the PR committee. So that's what happened, but Megan did a great job for us. And so I really appreciate that. We're gonna keep posting a lot of social media stuff basically through Christmas, since that's a busy time of year and perhaps people buy gift certificates or whatnot. Then we'll kind of slow things down again in January and February, and then look to kind of relaunch again in March. The site will still be up, people can find it, book tours, but we're not gonna promote it quite as heavily January and February, you know, as the weather is cold, and then obviously we'll see what's going on with the condition of COVID, and if it's necessary to keep moving forward with it. And then we might even look into some or what they call paid media, buying ads or posts or things like that. We tried to do it virally this time, just kind of social media, and we didn't quite get the response we were hoping for. So we'll take a look for that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, Harvey Davidson and I attended a virtual conference a couple of weeks ago given by the New York State Tourism Industry Association, or NISTIA, as they like to be called. And there's a full report that's going to be included in the minutes, so I'll encourage you to check that out. But just a couple of things that are worth noting, highlights. Number one, the president and CEO, whose name is Bob Provost, he is actually going to come and speak at our next meeting in January. He's not going to be the featured speaker, but we've invited him to speak about a campaign they're putting together called New Yorkers for New York. Sound familiar? It's pretty similar to Tour Your Own City, really trying to encourage locals to tour in New York State. So kind of the keynote part of that is going to be January 25th to 31st, Explore New York Week, Find the New York You Love. So we're going to try to create some synergy and partnerships there with NISTIA and our colleagues from throughout the state, and see if that can help promote things as well. So stay tuned for that, and we'll let you know how that's going to develop. By the way, NISTIA has also now become a strategic affiliate of Ganec. They weren't previously. A couple other things we followed up on. Harvey reached out to the Genesee County Chamber of Commerce, because they are the ones who operate the Haunted History Trail of New York and the Halloween Spooktacular. This was just on the heels of Halloween, and we want to get New York City tour guides involved in this for next year, particularly those who give ghost tours. So perhaps that'll be able to do some more promotion. So stay tuned for that. And then just two more quick items. NISTIA is currently backing a bill in the New York State Senate. It's Bill 8938 that would create tourism recovery improvement districts that function very similar to business improvement districts. They're funded by their members, so hotels, restaurants, pretty much hotels are the prime drivers of this, but it would give some of the marketing advantages and I think tax advantages that bids are able to enjoy. I don't know that much about how bids work, so I have to apologize. But if this is something that's been around for a while, it started in California and it's legal in, I think they said about 30 states right now, but not yet in New York. So NISTIA is really pushing for this, and I've passed this on to our government relations committee to see if this is something Ganec should get behind as well. And then last but not least, they wanted us to share that their next annual conference is going to be April 21st to 23rd, tentatively scheduled in person for Chautauqua, New York, which I believe is up near Buffalo somewhere. So we will certainly have a Ganec rep there if it's in person, and if it's virtual, either Harvey or I will certainly take up the cause there as well. So that's pretty much all I have for industry relations. Again, we'd love to have anybody and everybody who's interested, participate in our committee meeting on December 17th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. So if you have not voted yet in the poll, panelists, we don't actually see it, but it's just for the attendees. You should be seeing it. I have about half of everybody has voted, so it'll still be up. So please vote, and then that'll help us determine what is the best time for our event on December 30th. Okay, so our last committee report is from Derek Chan. Let me just get Derek into as a panelist. Okay, so Derek will be coming on in just a moment. All right, so here's Derek. Okay, Derek, go ahead. You just unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. It's Derek Chan, the membership committee chair. And first of all, I just want to extend an extra special welcome to all of our members, whether you're a full member or a provisional member. Always great to have you joining us. And also an extra special welcome to all of our non-members. So whether you're a New York City tour guide and just waiting to join Ganec or not, we're also glad that you're here as well. We do continue to process applications on a monthly basis. So if you have submitted an application in the past before, but decided at the time it wasn't right, but now you're ready, or maybe you have submitted an application, we have responded back to you. Maybe it's gone into your spam inbox, so just be sure to check that. Or if you do want to submit an application, just go to the website, ganec.org/membership, or you can send me and the committee an email, membership@ganec.org, and we'll get back to you. I do want to recognize 3 of our newest members. We do have 3 new provisional members. Their names are Cassie Doherty, John Gallagher, and Jackie Heron. So welcome to those newest Ganec provisional members. As a result, that does bring our current active Ganec membership up to 388. That includes both full and provisional members. Next week, we do have an event coming up. We do have our next Ganec virtual happy hour. That's going to be next Thursday, December 10th from 5 to 6 p.m. This is going to be a slightly different format than past virtual happy hours. First of all, we are going to be using Zoom, so the same platform if you're listening live right now. But we'll have a different format. It'll be partially a game show as well. There'll be contestants, which will be you, the participants, and we'll be using breakout rooms and different things like that. All you need to do to register, you just go to our events page, ganec.org/events. You can register now, and all the details will be on there. When you register, you'll get an email that will have the link to the meeting, as well as a separate survey. And that survey will be used to populate the games that we'll be using. If you want to be a contestant, you can optionally say that you're interested in that. So all of that's on the website. An email will be going out to the members a little bit later as well, but look forward to that coming up next week. And that's about all that I have, unless there are any questions that anybody has. I'm happy to answer them, or you can also email membership@ganec.org. And
just again, the event is on December 10th, right, Derek?
Yes, that's right. Yep, Thursday, December 10th.
Mm-hmm. So so the email will go out to everybody in the next day or so. If any other questions for membership and for Derek? No, everyone's okay. I think Jeremy, you had a comment also regarding membership.
Yes, hi everyone, it's Jeremy, your treasurer. I just wanted to make a note because I am been getting emails from people who mailed in their check for renewal. Just to clarify, obviously I'm going to the office about every 2 weeks now. So if you mailed a check and it has not been cashed, and most likely I haven't gotten that, so I actually will be going tomorrow. So any checks that are there, I will cash, and you will get a receipt by email confirming you've been renewed. And if you are mailing checks, again, just please be patient, and I will get the mail as I get to it. I just want to also confirm, thank you, Michael, for the reminder. In terms of renewals, we have waived the late fee. Normally, as you know, if you do not renew on time, there is a late fee. That will not happen until the spring. So if you fail to renew in January or February and you still renew, there will not be the normal late fee. We are pushing that back under the circumstances. However, if you do not renew by mid-January, your membership will become lapsed, but then it'll just become active again once your renewal is then processed.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for clarifying that. I think I misspoke at the beginning. All right. So with that, thank you, Jeremy. That is our last. Report, and I just want to hold on a moment. Just make sure we've got all. Okay, so we still have the poll running. So if anybody still hasn't voted, you're welcome to do so. So yes, so thank you everybody for attending tonight. This was, I think, a really interesting and really fun discussion. I know that we all miss bars even more after seeing John Tebeau's great presentation. We'll be sending out emails about the awards ceremony, about voting for the nominees, about renewing your membership, about the membership happy hour, and then also about the upcoming end of year party, Salute to 2020. So thank you all for coming this evening. Again, if you have any questions, if you ever need anything, don't forget you can always reach out to the board. Our email is board@ganec.org, and we're always happy to help in any way we can. So I'd like to take the moment to wish everybody again a very happy holidays, but I'm sure I'll see you in a Zoom meeting here or there or everywhere over the next couple weeks. Especially I'm looking forward to the last two from the Metropolitan Museum, as well as the happy hour, which was going to be a lot of fun. So I'll see you all at that. Thank you, board, for helping out again tonight and for all you do. And with that, good night, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and happy December. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.